Welcome to today's Explainer, everyone. Look, if you're the kind of person who likes to cut straight through the noise and just get right down to the facts, well, you are in exactly the right place today. The date is July 3rd, 2026, and honestly, we are looking at a day that's probably going to go down in history as a massive turning point for the tech sector. Because right now, across the globe, we are watching this unprecedented collision playing out in real time. On one side, record-breaking financial hype, and on the other, we're slamming into a wall of gritty, very real technical realities, plus some serious pushback from global governments. So let's just walk through exactly what's happening step by step using the latest reports that are literally resetting the industry agenda as we speak. Okay, let's dive into this. $1 trillion. I mean, just take a second to let the sheer scale of that number really sink in. Just to put it into perspective, $1 trillion is roughly the entire gross domestic product of the Netherlands. And this is the official target market valuation that OpenAI is aiming for right now as it takes its very first steps toward entering the public market. It's absolutely the #1 news story dominating both the financial and tech worlds today. Because think about it, a $1 trillion IPO target, that isn't just some ambitious financial goal, right? It's a massive statement of total industry dominance. It sets this profound expectation that artificial intelligence isn't just some useful software tool anymore. It is the foundational infrastructure of the future global economy. But here's the catch. The soaring, sky-high aspirations of an IPO inevitably crash right into the brutal reality of the balance sheet. $34 billion. According to some newly leaked data, that represents OpenAI's staggering expenses from just last year alone. And this perfectly sets up the tension we're going to be exploring today. Because sure, the hype of a $1 trillion valuation sounds totally astonishing, but the reality is that training, running, and just maintaining these advanced generative models, it requires an astronomical burn rate of cash, of compute power, and of energy. So it really forces us to ask the big question: how in the world do you possibly justify those kinds of costs to the public market? Section 1. Wall Street's AI Big Bang. So the generative AI sector is about to be put under a level of investor scrutiny that we have arguably never seen before. Because OpenAI isn't doing this in a vacuum, right? The two absolute biggest competitors in generative AI are taking official steps toward the public market at the exact same time. We've got OpenAI seeking up to that monumental $1 trillion mark, but right on their heels, Anthropic is targeting a valuation of up to $965 billion. Guys, this is an incredibly intense financial rivalry. We're literally watching a space race for capital. And to win over all those investors and survive the glaring spotlight of the public market, both of these mega competitors know that, hey, standard chatbots, they just aren't going to cut it anymore to justify these numbers. They need something much bigger. Section 2. ChatGPT, the new super app. Now, what's really interesting about this strategy is that to justify those massive IPO numbers, OpenAI is completely redesigning its core product right before this public offering. They aren't just, adding a few neat buttons here and there. They're building out a comprehensive ecosystem. They are evolving ChatGPT into a true super app. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means direct integration of advanced programming tools. It means autonomous AI agents, systems that don't just chat with you, but actually go out and actively perform tasks on your behalf. And it means baking in a huge variety of services from external partners. By rolling the whole shebang into one unified platform, OpenAI's strategy is basically to make ChatGPT the singular gateway through which you do your work, manage your life, and just interact with the digital world. Section 3. The AI Coding Paradox. Integrating all these advanced features brings us down from the macro 30,000-foot Wall Street view straight into the trenches with the software engineers. And wow, the adoption rate here is just staggering. According to a brand new study released today by Gatepoint Research with data from Futurum Group, an astounding 94% of engineering leaders have already implemented AI into their teams. 94%. I mean, almost every single engineering team across the board has bought in. They've integrated these AI coding assistants because they're expecting these massive leaps in productivity. The buy-in is pretty much absolute at this point. But here's where that massive wave of adoption crashes headfirst into the wall of reality. In that exact same study, over 55% of organizations say their absolute biggest challenge is the unreliability and the hallucinations of these AI agents when they're actually deployed in real production environments. So the honeymoon period, yeah, it's over. It turns out letting an AI brainstorm ideas in a safe little sandbox is fun, but letting it write code for a live operating product, well, that's just a really great way to give your senior developers a massive migraine. The struggle to make these tools actually reliable in the real world is very real. And that creates this deeply frustrating bottleneck. You see, code is being generated at lightning speed by the AI, sure, but because of those glaring reliability issues, it now requires an immense amount of time for human review and correction before it can ever even touch a live operation. The paradox here is that the technology we built to speed everything up has honestly just shifted the bottleneck. We moved it from the drafting phase right over to the quality assurance phase. Humans are still the necessary, albeit much slower, final filter in the loop. Section 4, Governments hit the brakes. So, while the tech giants are off racing toward trillion-dollar IPOs and engineers are battling it out in the code trenches, global powers are finally stepping in. Get this, at the direct request of the U.S. administration, OpenAI has officially been forced to postpone the wider release of its next major model, GPT 5.6. So instead of this huge global rollout, access is currently restricted to just a tiny handful of approved partners. Why? Well, because the government is demanding time to develop a comprehensive security verification framework. Naturally, this has caused some serious frustration among the tech companies, but it sends an absolutely unmistakable signal. The era of tech companies just policing themselves, that's ending. The state is stepping in to take a very active, direct role in controlling advanced AI. And the stakes here really couldn't be higher, which is perfectly captured by this quote that was released just a few hours ago. Technology is evolving faster than governments can respond. That line comes straight from the first ever independent global report on the risks and opportunities of AI published by a panel of UN scientists. I mean, that is a stark admission coming from the absolute highest levels of international diplomacy. The technology is literally outpacing the regulatory frameworks of modern civilization. But that sobering UN report isn't just some academic exercise. It's actually laying the foundation for real action. Next Monday, on July 6th, the much-anticipated Global Dialogue on AI Governance will officially kick off in Geneva. Based on the findings we just talked about, the entire world is now scrambling to build an international regulatory framework to actually manage these risks. It's a total race against the clock to put some guardrails on a technology that is already so deeply embedded in our global infrastructure. Section 5, the Asian AI Alliance. And this brilliantly illustrates that the scramble for AI dominance isn't just about, writing regulations in Geneva. It's fundamentally reshaping strategic national alliances all over the globe. The geopolitics of AI are playing out in real time right now through a brand new, deep economic security agreement signed by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Japanese counterpart, Sanae Takaichi. The strategic synergy here is honestly perfect. Japan brings this unparalleled expertise in hardware and advanced semiconductors, while India brings vast, world-class software capabilities to the table. By combining forces in artificial intelligence, their explicitly shared goal is to create a counterbalance to China's growing technological influence in the region. So AI is no longer just a software product you buy. It is the ultimate geopolitical chess piece. Which really brings us back to the core tension of everything we've covered today. We started with these wild, trillion-dollar IPO aspirations. We plunged into the messy, frustrating reality of AI code that desperately needs slow human review. And then we zoomed back out to see the White House, the UN, and international alliances all scrambling to assert control. And it all leads to the single critical question. As the financial hype collides with the friction of human oversight and global regulation, who is ultimately going to dictate the future of AI? Will it be Wall Street, the software engineers in the trenches, or the governments writing the rules? It's a fascinating landscape for sure, and understanding these structural pillars is absolutely key to navigating what comes next. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the right questions, and I'll see you next time as we continue to decode the world's most complex shifts.